This is the Android Buffet Podcast, episode number 521, recorded Thursday, January 7th, 2021, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to another episode of the Android Buffet Podcast, the first one in 2021.
Ooh.
To those of you who tried to tune in the last 2 weeks live, that didn't work out, but we're back doing that on our normal Thursday night. For those of you who are listening pre-recorded, you didn't notice, so not noticing is better.
Huh.
So it has been something of a hard week for a lot of people, and we're going to sit here and happily talk about Android.
Yes, we are.
Yes. So, not much is going on as usual. We're still in the slow part of the post-holiday season. So, there are things
That's what
happening.
we do. Yep.
Well, I'm assuming, I forgot to check. There's some sort of virtual CES coming up, isn't there?
If not already done, yes.
Who can keep track? Okay, here we are. It starts on Monday. So there might, I don't know what a virtual CES is going to look like, but companies usually make some announcements and there's some news, so there might be something interesting to talk about.
Yep.
Or not. So Live Boot is now open source, and it works on Android 11. So Live Boot is a way to adjust your phone so it does a more traditional Linux-type boot screen where it shows what it's doing instead of just showing you a splash screen.
Oh, that seems cool.
Well, I think so. To be honest, it's one of those nice things where we would be able to see what's going on, and I can't necessarily complain about that. So, sounds good to me.
I'm kind of curious what it does when it boots. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I'd like it if this was an option that didn't require you to root your phone, not because I'm objecting to rooting my phone, but because of all the things that refuse to work when you do that.
Yep.
Let's see. So there was an interesting article. In 2021, Android apps on tablets and large screens need to get better. So I think I can agree with that statement.
So you don't think they're good on big screens?
Well, a lot of people don't design their apps for big screens. So what happens is it's just essentially the regular app scaled up.
Yep.
So there are a few apps that actually create a useful experience at that size. And if Android wants to get into the sort of tablet area where you may have noticed they do not quite get as much interest as the iPad, they have to encourage developers to actually design layouts for their apps that would look nice at that size. That's not exactly impossible, but most developers do not see the advantage.
Well, sure. If you're talking about something that's like 0.5% of your audience, then
Yeah, but we're back to if Google and Android want more people to use these devices, they have to provide incentives. So what if you offered these people something for doing this? I'm not sure what that would
pay
be.
developers.
Well, I'm not even talking about paying developers. Incentives are different than pay. What if you said, if you do this for this period of time, we will lower the cut that we take out of new app sales? No, I'm saying there are other ways to do it than to directly pay them. Look at what what was it? It was Amazon who I think like a year or two ago they wanted more people to develop Echo skills. So they had agreements that they would give you hardware if you created certain things for the Echo. So they would give you like a device.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm not suggesting that they do anything. I'm saying there are ways that they can incentivize people without direct payout. Because remember, these are companies that are building apps, or these are people who are building apps. So you don't want to necessarily say, we're going to pay you to develop this. We're just going to say, we will make sure that you have a good reason to do this. Anyway, like many things in this world, that may or may not happen. So elsewhere, Google has said that it improved the auto rotate response.
That would be so nice.
And this is for all Pixel phones, and they said that they did that in the update that they just released.
Because the auto rotate on the Pixel I don't know, sometimes you just feel like it's sticky. Like it doesn't want to rotate.
And that's been happening to me for years, to the point at which I've disabled auto rotate.
I think I've done that a few times. But then I want it to rotate. So then, yeah,
There are very few things that I want it to rotate for a lot of the time. Videos, yes, but I don't watch very many videos on my phone, so I can just turn that off, and a few other things. So moving on to apps, Nova Launcher 7, so this is one of the most popular third-party launchers, has a major update for its beta. And again, I do own Nova Launcher. I did pay for it. However, the Pixel launcher has been enough for me lately, so I have not used a secondary launcher in some time. What about you? Have you played with anything?
I love the Pixel launcher. It's one of the reasons that I dumped my Samsung S20 in favor of a Pixel 5, 6, 10.
Yeah.
My current Pixel. I don't know what.
So looking at this article from Droid Life, apparently in the beta they have vertical paginated folder scrolling, swipe down actions on icons, search bar and tab bar can be placed at the bottom instead of the top, etc. So again,
Cool.
Kudos to them for trying new stuff. I always appreciate
the radial layout is interesting.
Yeah, and again,
interesting.
Good artists steal, so it's possible that other launchers will include the same features. Implemented independently, but again, different layouts. If you like Gallery Go, which is the simple, let's just say non-bloated gallery app that Google has, as opposed to Photos, which again has bloat for a reason, it's a part of an ecosystem, then it's apparently you're not alone, because 50 million installs for that app.
That sounds like a lot, but
it sounds like a lot for an app that is a gallery app from Google, where they have another gallery app. It shows that there's...
Yeah, I guess it does sound like it is a lot for an app that is not auto-installed, like Facebook.
Yeah, I think it proves that people do not always want the heavy apps. They sometimes just want a utility.
Yeah, true. Good point.
And Photos, for whatever you can say about it, they keep putting more and more into it. It grows.
Yes, it does grow.
Yep. And I bought an app this week.
Oh!
I haven't bought one.
We should buy more apps.
No, I realized I hadn't bought one.
I mean, you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realized I had not bought one in a while, because I hadn't had anything that... So, this goes back to...
So what'd you get?
Well, it goes back to something that I've been exploring because of my family.
Yes.
So you've heard me mention that I've, over the last few months, I've been, we'll call it sheltering in place with my parents.
Yes.
And they have been going through collections of board games.
Yes.
So 2 weeks ago, my mother saw one of those Amazon sales and bought a copy of Ticket to Ride. Are you familiar with this game?
I am not.
Well, it's been around for some time, and what it is you have a board, you put down like little trains, and you try to build routes from one side of the board to the other side of the board. So it's like one of those strategy games with cards and little pieces and such.
Oh, cool.
So they have Ticket to Ride US, Ticket to Ride Europe, Ticket to Ride Nordic countries. So the game is always the same, but they have like different. It's like the Monopoly phenomenon, where there's like 50 million versions of Monopoly, and the only difference is they've changed the theming.
Yep.
So I was looking into the Ticket to Ride app for Android, where you could essentially play Ticket to Ride with other people who were not there. And I was doing this so that because for about 4 nights in a row, I would go for a walk after I ate dinner, and I would come back, and the Ticket to Ride board was set up for another rematch because one member of my family had not won any yet. We're very competitive people.
Cool.
So I was trying to
Sounds like fun.
I was trying to expand the pool of board game players. Anyway, didn't quite work out, but I now own a $7 copy of the Ticket to Ride app, so I can play against the computer at least, or encourage family members to do so when I do not feel like playing with them. Anyway, so that was the app that I bought, and it made me start looking at the app equivalents of popular board games, or at least the board games that are popular with members of my family. And I was looking at how for the ones that didn't cost money, I was looking at how the board game experience compares to the digital experience they've tried to recreate.
And
Reading the reviews and doing a little checking on it, hit or miss.
well, changing the entire atmosphere of a game doesn't always translate real well.
Well, I'll give you something of an example. So I looked, my grandmother, her favorite game when she used to play before she passed away was Rummy Cube. Are you familiar with Rummy Cube?
I'm familiar with Rummy.
Rummy Cube is like Rummy only with tiles instead of cards.
Okay.
I'm overly simplifying, but that's close enough. So there is a Rummy Cube app made by the same, not necessarily whatever licensed or what have you by the people who make the official original Rummy Cube game. So I was looking at this and reading it, and all the things that you have to do. So to play with other people, you have to have a Facebook account. To do this, you have to have that.
Oh, boo! No, don't ever require a. Oh, that's evil.
Well, see, I have this sort of philosophy about the log in with Facebook or log in with Google. That should be an option.
Yes.
It should be
Never,
okay.
ever require Facebook.
Yeah, and it's just one of these things. So Ticket to Ride wants me to install Google Play Games and create an account. I think I bypassed that. But if I want to play with other people, I do need to use the Google Play Games platform. But
I refuse to install a Facebook on my phone.
I don't really need a Facebook on my phone. I almost am never on the darn thing. And if not for people sending me links that I have to open up in it, you'd never actually see me anywhere near it. Not because I have I could get into the whole privacy discussion with Facebook.
That's
but
pretty much where that's.
No, I'm saying I could get into that, but the reality is, and while that's certainly a concern for me, the bigger reality is I don't get enough out of it. It does not provide me with the enjoyment. I originally joined Facebook and created the account because somebody told me that was the only way that I would hear from them after they left. So this was one of my former coworkers who left the company, and I wanted to keep in touch. So that person has never kept in touch with me.
Okay, that's not unusual.
Yeah, so I joined a platform so I could keep track of somebody. Didn't keep in touch with them. Didn't see much of an advantage. But anyway, moving along from that pretty much covers a lot of the Android stuff that I had, and I did have a few sort of more technology and other randomly based stories from this week that are hopefully relevant. Dawn Wells passed away.
Who dat?
Did you ever watch Gilligan's Island? She was
Oh,
50%.
Is that Marianne? No.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Marianne.
she was 50% of the rest.
50% of the rest.
During the early part of that particular show, the theme song essentially said "and the rest," and then they got in the Professor and Marianne and changed the line. So both the character of the Professor and Marianne were not originally part of the theme song.
Ah,
So she was beloved enough that they wrote her into the song and re-recorded it.
cool.
Anyway,
She was uh, she had a long life, right?
82 is a long life. Admittedly, they're longer, they're shorter, but that is a long, and from the looks of it, a very productive life.
Awesome.
Flash is finally dead. So people, I am always sad when they die. Flash, not so sad.
Yeah, it's
It,
not dead for me. The geniuses at Carrier
yeah,
for the My Infinity stuff, it requires Flash to use their online control
my biggest annoyance with
widget.
Flash in the last few years was when I tried to take an online defensive driving course and they were all using Flash. And I was saying, okay, so
Wonder why.
it was dead at the time, and I'm talking about no longer supported. The person who developed, in this case Adobe, was actively trying to retire it. It's now officially, no longer supported. But yet none of these companies were looking into an alternative. And I asked them, I said, oh, why would we change it? Well, you change it because nobody's making Flash stuff anymore. And so they must have made one Flash thing and then suddenly decided, oh, why should we put money into replacing it with something that actually will still work next year? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. When people no longer can use our product.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, I got a refund actually on one of those courses because of that. I ended up going in person to a hotel room and spending an entire Sunday there, learning about what speed limit and how to avoid possible danger, and letting a bunch of senior citizens complain about the new divided bike lanes just because I didn't want to deal with figuring out how I was going to play something using Flash when none of my computers supported it.
All right.
Anyway, I think I have another 2 years before I have to do that again. But Project Chip, which is the specification for interoperable smart home technology. So this is the one that's supported by a variety of different working groups, Zigbee, etc., trying to essentially unify everything together, has released their draft specification just in time for 2021. So nobody has actually built a single product, but they now have a draft specification. I'm one of those.
And that's never gone bad.
No, it goes bad all the time. But I know you were being sarcastic. But
I don't do sarcasm, sir.
But no, sometimes draft specifications go somewhere. But a lot of these working groups, they release their specification, nobody adopts it, and it dies. So
I'm
I'm
just
waiting.
worried you create a draft specification without having tried it, and there's always you miss things and
Well,
things that cause significant problems.
Well, I happen to, as you've heard me mention, subscribe to the IndieWeb community theory. And you've heard me mention my interest in the IndieWeb many times over
Yes.
these. So their
Hey, I remember something.
yeah, but one of their philosophies is you should actually build things and stop talking about building things. So that can be anywhere from you should actually create content if you are a programmer and you think of something, you shouldn't just say I'm going to go design a specification, design something perfect. You should actually put your money where your mouth is and build and use what it is you are imagining. Instead of just writing the specification and then hoping somebody is going to implement it, iterate on your specification by actually implementing something before you declare any draft. So one of the community visions is if there's going to be a specification, it has to have at least a certain number of implementations. Otherwise, it is not a specification. and that's worked very
Why not?
well. Now it means that the specifications
Okay.
that the IndieWeb have developed are actually very, let's just say, simple. But that's actually a good thing. It makes it really easy for somebody to implement them. And then,
Because somebody realized has actually done it.
yes, and then there are extensions, there are expansions, but those expansions happen the same way. The general community principle, and I've been watching, is that in order for you to add an extension to any of the specifications that were developed by the community, you have to prove that at least 2 to 3 other people have actually done the same thing. Otherwise, it's just your own personal implementation. And I like that.
Yep.
Because again, if you can't get consensus from 2 other people to actually build something together.
Then you must be a politician.
Oh.
Sorry,
Roku.
I retract.
Roku has
Yep.
celebrated 50 plus million active accounts and 58.7 billion streaming hours in 2020.
I was surprised. This surprised me because I figured they'd have more.
Yeah. The thing is, 50 plus million is not necessarily a. The question is, and I was trying to figure out from the context because the article came from Roku's blog.
Right.
Did they mean in context that that's 50 million total accounts, or was that 50 million that happened to have been implemented in 2020, like 50 million new accounts? So I'm just looking at this article again and just trying to see were they
Okay,
clear on
50
the point.
million in 1 year is significantly more impressive than 50 million in total. 50 million in 1 year would be news.
No,
50
it is.
million in total is kind of disappointing.
Well, here we are. Amazon said last month that it reached 50 million active users on its Fire TV streaming platform. So it is 51.2 million total users.
Okay, but Roku's got to be more popular than Fire's.
Yeah, by 1 million people, according to this.
That's just. That
Also, the
makes no
question
sense
is how
to me.
many of these individuals actually have an account? I think now when I started, you didn't need an account to use a Roku. I think
Right.
you do now. I have an account, so I haven't really looked. Essentially, they're saying that there are more people. Also, remember, some people share accounts. So,
Well, and then there's people like me that I have 4 different Rokus and they're all on the same account.
yeah, but I'd imagine they're used by different members of your family. That you're not. No, I'm saying that you're not all on the same Roku at the same time. You have like ones in different rooms of your home. Where.
Right.
So the thing is that accounts doesn't necessarily mean eyeballs. So let's say that you take an average family of 4. They have one Roku account that they set up their 4 Rokus on. That's 4 people watching. So it's probably something along those lines where they said that they had 58.7 billion streaming hours. I don't know if 50 plus million single people could do that, but 50 plus million accounts with multiple devices could do that. Again, just speaking.
All right. Yep.
Again, not. I don't know enough about the market to comment on that, but I'm just speaking based on what it seems to be the case. Moving along, C by GE, which I think is a stupid name, gets a new name. Sync. CYNC. I don't like that one either, but naming is hard.
Sure.
I've tried to name products, not that I was selling, but like whatever I was trying to do. I've tried to name it, and it's not that easy. So either way, they are getting into businesses other than light bulbs, so they're expanding out to other smart home products. I'm neutral on that on the basis that I have not bought one of their products so far, and I have no plans. I am not knocking them. I just have chosen other brands. If you are on Verizon and you were worried about them shutting off your 3G, apparently they won't be doing that just yet. Now, there are places where I can't even get Verizon 2G.
Huh.
So, it's sort of this thing. Okay, we're going to shut down. We're going to shut down the network, but we haven't gotten 100% coverage on the new network. We don't even have 100% coverage on this. So, what's going to happen? They're going to shut down all of those towers that are doing the older, weaker signals and replace them. If that was so, why didn't they already replace them? But we'll see. Apparently, they are having problems shutting this network down and have delayed it.
Well, good.
I don't know. I don't really see a reason for them to maintain 3G. I understand what it takes.
Sometimes that's all I can get.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, as a technology, I'm not saying that if they replaced 100% of their coverage footprint with a newer technology, I understand then you have to give people time to not get used to sort of migrate their devices over. But we're getting there. In apparently what may have been some sort of snafu or intentional, Amazon was marking free podcast as costing $8.95. But it's free if you have an Audible subscription.
That had to be a mistake.
Not necessarily. I think that it's one of those things where I don't think it necessarily was a mistake, but I don't think they really intended it that way. So that could say a mistake.
Is that what a mistake is?
Well,
you do something you didn't intend?
Well, I'm more saying that I think that telling people that it cost $8.95 wasn't a mistake. I think that the way that they presented it may have been a mistake. I think they very much would like. I think they very much would like to charge money for things that are otherwise free, if they can get away with it.
Sure, wouldn't we all?
Yeah, but it's not their intellectual property.
No, but it's their distribution channel.
I remember when Amazon, when the Kindle was much younger, when they used to, you could get like an RSS feed as a Kindle book, and they would deliver it, and they would charge you like 99 cents for this privilege to read somebody else's website on your Kindle and auto download it. And the people who ran the site, would not necessarily get that money. So as I said, I'm not surprised that Amazon would say, okay, we're going to deliver to you something that you could get free somewhere else, and trust that you don't realize that. And not free something else, on a completely different device. Free something else on the exact same device you were using otherwise. So what's the value add for Audible doing it? If Audible's creating, exclusive serialized content, which happens to be, effectively a podcast, fine. But if they're just co-opting other people's podcasts, should I go search Amazon to make sure that Android Buffet isn't available for $9 that we're not getting anything off?
Well, maybe we'll get some of that $9. No, probably not.
Probably not, especially since I don't remember agreeing to do that. And I'm not going to say that we own the rights to the word Android, which we certainly don't. However, this program is our intellectual property. We do give it away for free, but we do reserve all rights. That reminds me, did I change the copyright date at the bottom of the page? I have to check. So finally, WhatsApp has given its users an ultimatum. Let us share your data with Facebook. By the way, if you are in Europe, you are exempted because this is illegal under European law. Share your data with Facebook or leave.
Wow, really?
Yeah. They have been putting pop-ups into the app where you have to accept their new terms of service or leave. And their new terms of service say they can share your data. Now, the thing is, WhatsApp has access to your entire contact list. I know in the past what Facebook has done with people's contact lists.
Yeah.
So now I'm worried. And this disappoints me because WhatsApp is how I keep up with what's going on with my kosher butcher. How am I going to get this week's butcher order in?
And it's the majority of how my family communicates.
Oh, I could find another way to communicate with my family, but how am I going to communicate with my butcher? How will I, find out how to prepare my hickory crunch chicken fingers, or my Cuban glazed skirt steaks, or my cherry pomegranate boneless spare ribs, or my chimichurri marinated London broil? Actually,
can't help you with that.
What? Well,
I can't help you with that.
I can't help myself with that. My butcher's in New York, and I have obviously, for that reason, not ordered from them since I left. But eventually, I will go back home, and I will want to order some home-delivered butchery. There's nothing like letting an actual butcher as opposed to a supermarket bring meat to your home fresh. Works very
Really?
nicely when they know what they're doing. When you just get somebody to go to the supermarket and buy you food, it doesn't work quite as effectively. They have no quality control. It's as if I just called somebody on the street and said, "Hey, you, could you go in there and pick me out some fruit?" I'm not sure if I
Okay.
told you about the yogurt problem.
No, I don't know the yogurt problem.
I ordered some yogurt, which was delivered to me. And they gave me, so this was a 12 pack of yogurt, and they gave me yogurt that expired in 2 days. How much yogurt can somebody eat in 48 hours? So, had I gone to the store, which I didn't do, and, and gotten my yogurt, I would not have chosen to purchase more yogurt than I could eat in the period of time. But since I wasn't the one who went there, so with these guys who only accept orders on WhatsApp for some odd reason, I know that they bring me quality product. So I'm willing to deal with them, but I guess I'll have to find another way. I think they have a phone. Anyway, my problems with getting meat aside, I do want to give a shout out to our friend Daryl, who is back now that we're back at our normal time, and to Michael, who showed up for a few minutes to say hi and had other obligations.
Hi.
Yes. And Daryl commented that he did start using a Roku last year, but only in hotel rooms. And I have a Roku that I had in my suitcase to use in hotel rooms, and then when I was in Bulgaria, I needed something that could do a VPN, so I was using a Fire Stick, which I did not like,
Wow.
except for the fact that I wanted a VPN.
A Roku that you use in a hotel room. How do you give it internet?
I have a travel router that I take on trips. So I have a travel router that is like a little mini one that I plug everything into, and I create my own private network within the hotel room.
Ah.
So when I was there, I wanted a VPN, and I needed a device that could actually connect to one because of the issues with international content.
Right.
So Roku does not support that, whereas Fire TV did. So I used Fire TV. Now, if I do a trip again, I'm going to probably use the Chromecast because I like that better than the Fire TV. I never liked the Fire TV that much, but did the job. So the Chromecast with Google TV. So the one that allows you to download Android apps would allow me to do everything I wanted. So that will probably become my new travel device. I was going to buy a second one for that purpose, and I was waiting for the holiday sale that everybody said was going to happen, where it was going to go down by $10.
Yeah.
That never happened, so I
it
didn't
never
buy one.
went down?
They have not discounted the product since it started. So since I am not doing any traveling that would need me to have more than one, I've decided that I will just wait for the sale. And if at some point in the future it comes that I do need that spare Chromecast with Google TV, I will just bite the bullet and pay the $10. So as we wind up here, it's been a tough week for everybody. I don't know about you, but I found the events of the last few days extremely stressful. And here's hoping that things calm down and get less stressful.
In the words of Teal'c, things will not calm down. They will, in fact, calm up.
I've been rewatching that lately. I haven't seen Stargate in a few years.
I love Stargate.
Well, it's amazing when you watch a show that you haven't watched in like 10 years and you realize, wait a minute, I remember these characters, I remember some of these episodes, but there's a large percentage of them I have no recollection of what happened.
Good.
Which is good for me because if I don't remember what happened, it's like it's new to me.
Yep.
And because I'm sure I liked it the first time, I'll probably like it again the second time.
I think Stargate gets better with every watch.
I hear rumors they're going to try a reboot. when I say
I don't
reboot,
know how I feel about that.
well, when I say reboot, there were two rumors that were coming through. One rumor was that they were going to try another series set in the same universe, not a reboot, as in they go back and start the same story all over again.
Hmm.
And there was another rumor that they were going to try to do a series that was based on the movie, not on on the universe created by the television series. So a sequel to that version of the events.
I think I will, as long as I don't screw it up.
Well, the truth of the matter is, look at what's been going on with Star Trek and Star Wars, which are very popular franchises. Disney has brought back Star Wars, and when I say bring back, there hadn't been that much content, but there'd still been a lot of interest. It's okay. You want more Star Wars? We'll give you so much Star Wars that you will. I'm trying to figure out how to finish that sentence. But Disney has been very good about saying, okay, we have a franchise that people like. We're just going to keep making stuff. We're not going to hold back like Lucas did. And for same thing with Star Trek over the last few years, Viacom, Paramount, etc., and whoever owns it nowadays, is essentially saying, okay, we know people want Star Trek. We know if we make a Star Trek show, people will watch it, so we're going to make some Star Trek shows.
Cool.
So it wouldn't surprise me if the current owners of the Stargate property, I think that's still MGM. Admittedly, I'm not. Entertainment news is not necessarily my expertise. Why shouldn't MGM say we have a very popular franchise that people loved and people are still excited about? Let's figure out how we can introduce a new series to that.
I would welcome more Stargate.
Yeah, and the question is, what's going on in 2020 in the Stargate program? If you look at where the show left off, not just the original show, but the two spin-offs, when did Stargate Universe was the last one? When that's been
No,
at least
there was a Stargate Origins.
Yeah, but that was a prequel. But I'm saying, when was the last time in the timeline? What was the last year that we saw Stargate?
I don't know.
It's been probably 7, 8 years.
Something like that.
So it's been a
Too
while.
long.
Yeah, but if you assume, since the show was contemporary, that while we've been living that in whatever theoretical universe that the characters inhabit, the same number of years have passed.
Yep.
What has been going on with? Because the problem with that show is they spent 7 or 8 years on the original show with one bad guy. They finally get rid of that bad guy. They came up with another bad guy. So what's next?
You mean one class of bad guy?
Well, I would have said race.
Yeah.
So I'm saying they finally, they got rid of the race of bad guys they had, and then they came up with a new one. And again, it's what's next. And I can understand, as a bunch of writers, you try to figure that out. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but I think there's an opportunity to say, okay, it's been if we keep with the show passing with equivalent time to the real world, it's been a couple of years since we've seen this reality. What's been going on there? And that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure some of the original actors would, if not agreeing to come back as regulars, to come back as occasional guest stars. I'd imagine not all of them are busy. I haven't heard that most of the actors who worked on that show are cast as regulars. I think they all were.
I think Richard Dean Anderson has stopped acting.
I believe he
He's
has.
retired.
Yeah. But even people who retire occasionally do come out just to do one thing.
Yep.
But again, it's back to, even if he doesn't, there were a lot of people on that show who are still around who might say, okay, I'll reprise the character for one episode. And people would love it. There would be cheering.
There would be.
Do they have Stargate conventions? I don't even know.
They normally join the various
No, but they have.
cons or sci-fi cons.
Yeah, but they have conventions for everything. So, I am woefully ignorant of that situation. I'll have to research it. So in the meantime,
I would love to see Samantha tapping in more stuff.
Amanda tapping.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
I thought you said Samantha tapping. So Samantha was
Oh,
the character.
her name in the show was Samantha, but yes,
Yes.
Amanda tapping.
Yes.
I mean, she did Sanctuary after, or in the middle of, I don't know.
At the end.
About this, at the end?
If
And
I remember
Sanctuary was
correctly,
awesome.
and again, it's been a while. I think she did. She didn't agree to do a larger role on any of the Stargate spin-offs because she wanted something a little more original, and she preferred Sanctuary because it was a chance for her to do something different. And
Everything that I have ever seen with her in it, I have thoroughly enjoyed.
but it's nice. So it is nice when characters say, "Okay, I'd like to revisit this character." And admittedly, the last few years, I've seen a lot of nostalgia. You know, Bill and Ted got a new movie. Coming to America has its sequel coming out, I think, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So it's
I'd
nice.
like to see Michael Shanks and more stuff. Just
What has it's sort of the question when you look at an old show? It's what have these people been doing since then? And then you go, the internet's a wonderful place, and you say, okay, that's what they've been up to. Because it's not like they left the show and were preserved in ember somewhere or put into a stasis tube.
Yep.
They still exist. I looked up what Christopher Judge was doing, and I said, wait a minute, he was in that?
for playing such a serious character, he's a really goofy guy, isn't he?
Yeah, so, I went and looked at some of the other things he did, and I said, okay, that's why I didn't recognize him, because he was playing a character so different that I just didn't connect the two. That and the hair.
Yeah, the hair.
Yeah. Anyway, popular culture and media aside, I am looking forward to this week being over and a new week starting. So it is Thursday, so I only have one more day before the end of my work week, and hopefully next week will be a little calmer for me. And
I
for
hope so.
everybody else. So I think that's a good note to end on. We will, I don't think we have anything interrupting the show for the next few weeks. So we should be keeping to our currently standard Thursday schedule.
I may be out of town. I am going to be out of town next week.
Okay.
I don't know how much that will affect my ability to record.
Okay. If there is a problem, what we will do is what we did when you were unexpectedly not here in previous weeks, which is we will record the show without the live component, and we will put it out. And if it turns out that your traveling schedule does not permit any recording of the show, we will do what we need to do. So to those of you listening, if there is a possibility of doing a show in any format, we will certainly do it.
Yep.
If that is not
That's what
possible,
we do.
then we will not.
And with that, good night.
Good night, everybody.
The recording has stopped.
Goodbye, live stream people as well.